Okay, here we are again. Bonus again, this time. You'll have to forgive me, I can't put my headphones in the proper way today. Not that that's going to matter for anybody else, but I have impacted ear canals from going to the doctor, so I have to put medicine in, and as a result of that, I cannot put in headphones the proper way. Is the music playing, or am I just actually deaf? No, it's playing. Okay. So, but it is okay. It doesn't hurt. It's just annoying because they said, yeah, we can't leave it that way for much longer. We have to soften that stuff up and get it, like, basically just earwax, which I'm sorry, that's gross, but they basically said, yeah, it's just earwax. We can't leave it that way for too long, because if we leave it that way for too long, you could have permanent hearing loss, and we don't want that, and I don't think you want that. And I said, yeah, no, that would not be preferable. And they said, okay, well, take this for 5 days, and then we'll pull all that crap out. Again, sorry. And then once it's out, my hearing will be back up to snuff, which is a good thing, because having put the medicine, you can put the medicine in twice a day. Having put the medicine in twice yesterday and once already today, like, I'm at the point where I can hear the ocean in my ear without, like, holding anything up to my ear. So that tells you just how bad it was. That basically what that means is that there's, like, now a clearing in there. And yeah, nasty. So, sorry. Again, part of the human body experience, apparently, though. So, and hopefully I'm going to not be living that experience, because I'm going to be, after I get it out, I'm going to be taking regular trips to the ear specialist, like, once a year, because they said, yeah, you'll probably need to come back and get this done about once a year just to make sure you don't have any problems. I said, okay, sure, that's fine. Anyway, who's here? Chris and Pad are here. Welcome, Pad. Been a little while. How you doing? Welcome back. Got to see the introduction. Yeah, this introduction for this game was really good, honestly. Like, I think they did a really good job with the cutscenes and everything, so. That's the sound of a cup full of ice. I'm gonna need it. It's still a really warm day. So, there you go. Now you do that too? Yeah, fair enough. Seriously nasty, though. Yeah, it's not a whole lot of fun when you're, you know, I've got the little, like, washer to, like, you know, like, rinse the medicine out after it's been sitting in there for a little while, and that's where it gets really nasty, because then it's like, oh my god, that was in my body? Like, ugh. But anyway, enough about the insides of my ears. Let's clean the rest of this game out, shall we? Yes, indeed, been a long while, but you're back. Yes, welcome back. You missed all of Final Fantasy III, the main story anyway, but that's okay, because I've taken care of the grinding that I need to do off-screen in order to be sufficient to fight the super boss. So that will save us all trouble, but at the same time it'll save you the trouble, because now you get to see the toughest fight in the game today. So that's the plan for today. Actually, it's pretty much just that, but I knew that this boss could be a pain, so I said, now, you know what, let's just make that the major, like, MO of today. And I guess while we're at it, we might as well finish out the bestiary as well, right? So, how you doing, everybody? Welcome back to a special bonus episode of Final Fantasy III, the Stream Edition. As you can see, I've gotten some level ups since we left the last time. Actually, this was done before I beat the game the last time. But I've shored up everybody's HP. Angus is now just about where everybody else is, only about 80 HP off from where Refia is, about 100 off from Lunith. Eric has a little more HP because he's the tank, so he needs more. And then, let's see. That's pretty much it, honestly. Where we're at in terms of equipment, I think we are exactly where we were previously. I have a certain amount of Yoichi arrows on, because that'll help me remember when I need to, because basically this next boss, the super boss, has 2 phases. And I tested off screen that, yeah, we're at the funny number, nice, so there you go. But yeah, I tested off screen, and I think this is the maximum number of arrows I can fire before they go into phase 2, and I need to know, like, I need to make sure that I don't accidentally move them to phase 2 before I'm ready, because I need to throw turtle shells at the whole party, so we're all ready, like, for the massive amounts of damage we'll take there. Eric has a full set of crystal equipment on, 156 defense, and that will actually, he'll still take about, when he's fully buffed, that is, with all of this stuff on, with the turtle shell, with Madura up, with Apollo up, he'll still take about 200 damage a hit from the super boss, which may not sound like a lot, but that's on top of the, potentially 2,000 damage he's taking from Meteor. And then some, because Meteor is not the worst thing that we can deal with in that fight, but we'll get there. Refi is back on the Ballad Crown, because the only person who needs status protection is Eric, and actually the Crystal Shields don't give him full status protection, but the only one that he doesn't avoid out of this is Silence, and he's a Viking, so he doesn't need to be worrying about Silence. So turtle shells, but this isn't Mario. Yes, but as it turns out, the turtle shells are very protective. But yeah, so Refi is back on the Ballad Crown. I have Ingus and White Mage because, unfortunately, Scholar just doesn't cut it for this fight. You need group healing that can heal for about 2,000 at minimum per person. And unfortunately, the only things that can do that, there's only 2 classes in the game that can do that, White Mage and Devout, and I did not feel like leveling up Devout all the way to job level 99 off-screen, because that would have required grinding. White Mage was already pretty close, so I said, screw it, I'm just going to use that. Surely that'll work out fine. And actually it does, because he's got 11 charges for Curaga, he's got 6 charges for Curaja, and we have like 20-something elixirs. 24 elixirs. So my thought process basically is, things line up if you do it this way. Basically, I'll have Lunith throw some turtle shells out at the beginning of the fight. I'll just barrage for a little while, and then by the time I'm done barraging, Ingus will be basically out of MP for Curaga and Curaja, so I can stop what I'm doing, throw an elixir for him, throw out a whole bunch more turtle shells, because as it turns out, Protect has a finite number of turns that it stays up, and then we can move into Phase 2 after that. I'll talk about all this in the actual fight, though, because I'm kind of just, I'm kind of just spitballing at things that we don't necessarily know just yet, so let's actually go to where the super boss fight is. We actually need the Nautilus in order to get there rather than the Invincible, so let's just go there first. So the way to get there relative to Saronia, see this little corner that's like poking in? It almost looks like an arrow going up left like that, so line yourself up with that while facing to the right, and then head straight south. So. And then eventually, there we go. Yeah, there's that shadow that we saw in the finale there when we were flying back to the floating continent. Got to be something under the water there, but that was not there before. So let's dive under and explore what it is, shall we? Today's been so up and down, you're already tired. Yeah, I can understand that, honestly. Turtle, tortoise, fire. You're like a zombie right now, legit feeling it, you dudes. That's okay, Chris. You don't have to do the fighting here, so it's all good. I'll steer the ship, you just watch. Question marks, huh? Interesting. But apparently there's some sort of a cave underneath the water in that coral reef there, and there's probably some stuff in here. Let's check it out, shall we? Now, if you're not ready to fight the super boss, that that raised platform that's above us there that looks sort of like the one that Doga and Une were on in their grotto, don't walk up to that, because if you walk up to that, well, the super boss fight will start, and then that won't be really good for you if you're not ready. But I'm ready, so let's do this. This may be a slightly unique version of this boss fight on YouTube, because I don't think anybody's fought them, at least not on a video, with a ranger, at least not below job, like physical level, character level 90 or something. It's a fancy looking cave. But yeah, apparently there's nothing here, so... I mean, there are monsters in here that you can encounter as random encounters. It's all 3 of the dragons that you can encounter at a 5% encounter rate in the Crystal Tower, but apparently there's nothing else. Never mind. Okay, so the super boss of this game is the Iron Giant. He was a rare encounter in Final Fantasy II, but in this game, he's difficult. He's actually also left-handed in this version, which I think is unique in the series. I don't think any of the other Iron Giants are left-handed. Might be why this one's so strong. But anyway, so first things first, the main thing that I want to do is I want to throw a turtle shell for Eric, and I would like Lunith to get his turn before the Iron Giant does, but that's not necessarily going to happen. Pretty much everybody else in the entire party has 1 or 2 jobs, depending on the situation. Eric's one job for the entire fight is to press provoke every turn. I mean, that's pretty much what he does as a Viking anyway. Refia needs to sing Madura and Apollo, so she needs to sing Min, and then she needs to sing Elegy every other turn. And Ingus, basically what he needs to do is either use Kiraga or Kiraja, depending on the damage that we're planning on taking that turn. For this particular turn, because we're not buffed up yet, I'm going to cast Kiraja, and then we'll work on Kiraga after that. And we'll see how this goes. Wow, he uses the dominant strong hand. Yeah, for sure. And I guess it works out for him because apparently, you know, according to what I've been told, okay, good, we got our turn first. What I've been told, left-handed people are evil, and apparently, I mean, I'm left-handed. I don't know how evil I actually am, but there you go. But yeah, so that's the expected amount of damage we'll be taking is right around there. It'll be a little less than that when we have Apollo up as well, but, you know. But basically, I cast Kiraja on this turn because he could have done about 800 damage if the Turtle Shell went off after the Iron Giant's turns. And then he also could have cast Meteor, which would have done about close to 3,000 damage to Lunith without this Turtle Shell up that I'm throwing this turn. So, yeah, it would have hurt. And by the way, again, this is with maxed out equipment, and I mean, we're at the funny number in terms of level. So we're not excessively high on level, but we're high enough. Would fight someone to have a quiet day without people shouting at each other next door, or the dog flipping out, or just not feeling tired. I'd fight somebody! Tell you, I would slap their gob. Honestly, I feel that some days. I'm definitely there with you some days. But, you'll get that quiet day. Someday. When I find it, I'll let you know. Yeah, so he can cast Meteor. He has a pretty high chance of casting it every turn, and yeah, there you go. Lunith just took 2,700 damage from that Meteor without the Turtle Shell up. So, yeah, that's a lot of damage. It's because we don't have a ton of, you know, armor on Lunith, but yeah, that's okay. Ingus can just about heal him to full. But yeah, we've got a Turtle Shell up on Lunith now. We've got a Turtle Shell up on Eric. There's one more item I need Lunith to throw over the course of the fight. But basically, Lunith is the only one who has, like, turns where he can do things in this battle besides, like, just shoot the enemy with Barrage. Everybody else basically has to do the same thing or every turn and the same thing every other turn, or we die! So that's fun. Okay, but the gist of the next few turns, and by that I mean about the next 15 turns, is we'll throw out a Min or an Elegy, we'll provoke, we'll let Lunith shoot this guy, and then after that we will let him attack us, and then get Kiraga off. Now, there is a very slim chance that Ingus will actually take his turn before the Iron Giant. It's very slim, but it has happened to me in practice runs before this. And if that happens, it's basically a reset, so we'll just cross our fingers on that one and hope for the best. But yeah, see, the damage is much more manageable with all of our buffs up. And I mean, that would make this fight very simple if that was all it was. Oh, he just swipes you attacks you 3 times and then uses Meteor, but they add a little bit of spice to it when he's got about 70,000 HP left. He has about 200,000 HP, which is a wide margin more than the final boss had. I think the final boss had like 130,000, so yeah. So we're going to be doing this for the next few turns, so I'm just going to fast forward, because it should go the same way. Fighting people without paperwork is illegal, and I don't want to do paperwork or go to jail. I've said enough. Yeah, fair enough, honestly. So I'm here watching you beat up a guy digitally and making unhealthy food choices. Yeah, you know what, honestly? I mean, that's probably better than going to jail, so I'll take it, you know. So, I will fight if someone frickin' tries me. I will bite. Oh, boy. Well, hopefully you can just live vicariously through this battle where I'm essentially fighting a brick wall for 20 minutes, and that should help you lose some of that angry energy. So now here's what I want to do, basically. What I want to do is I want to make it so that Ingus has one charge of Kiraga left, and then start casting Kiraja even if we don't need it, because then what I can do is when I throw the elixir on the turn when he has... Basically, I want him to have 1 charge of this left and 0 charge of this left. Then when I throw the elixir, he'll have 1 less Kiraga, but phase 2 of this boss fight, I'm basically going to be needing to cast Kiraja every turn, and if we cast Kiraga, it won't be enough to keep up with the DPS. So, I want him to have less Kiragas than Kirajas. If we have less Kirajas, we may not survive the fight. At the end, if we have less Kiragas, that's probably fine. But, yeah, so this is the first 18-ish turns of the fight, is literally just this. So, This is not the actual boss fight. Once you get buffed up, this part's pretty easy. It's just getting past that. That's a little bit of a crapshoot. So we're doing good damage though, but as I said before, I think I mentioned this earlier, you don't want to do so much damage that you're doing 9,999 because that could mean you're doing more than 9,999. The game's just not showing it to you. And basically, I want to stop as close to 130,000 damage done to this guy as possible, because beyond that point is where he gets into phase 2 and he starts using a move that's different from Meteor that deals more damage. So that's where we have to start being careful. That's where I have to stop and throw out turtle shells. So, alright, well, we've got about 11 turns before I have to throw the elixir, so I think if I did my math right there, it's looking at me, this is HP, or MP totals. Yeah, I got 11 turns before I have to throw that out, so we'll just, like I said, fast forward through this part. I mean, I guess I don't have to, but it's going to literally be this for the next, like I said, 11-ish turns, so... I mean, we can watch it slowly and methodically if all of you would like, but I feel like this is a more efficient use of our time. This is the only thing I have on the docket for today, though, is fighting this guy and finding the 3 dragons in this area. And then showing off the 100% bestiary and the 100%, well, we already showed 100% treasure rating, so I don't have to show that off. But that's about it. I'll show off the gallery as well. I've actually never looked at the gallery, so that'll be a new one for me, too. But yeah, I didn't want to put too much on this docket for today, because this boss fight can get really ridiculous later. Like, we should have enough HP to have a small buffer when he uses his, big, super ridiculously powerful moves in phase 2. But, he could just, you know, I think if I remember correctly, if he gets a crit on his attack that replaces Meteor later, and he gets a crit on all 3 of his physical attacks on Eric, Eric will still die, even at almost 5,000 HP. And with maxed out defense, and with all of his buffs up, he will still die. So if we get that unlucky, then I guess we're restarting the fight and we have to do this all over again, but, you know. Shruki. You'll say it, that sword looks dumb. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything fancy, because he's a giant and all he's not attempting to cut anything with it, you know what I mean? He's just attempting to smush you with it. So, that's the gist. I don't think it matters, you know, is basically what I'm saying. I don't think it matters what it looks like. The damage that it deals is enough to garner my, not my respect necessarily, but my fear. So... I guess we should count ourselves lucky that so far he's only decided to wield it with one hand. That might change. It's more of a plate, like a frying pan wielded the right way. Yeah, well, actually, it's funny you mention that because... Actually, no, hang on, I'm thinking of the SNES version. I was going to say that's not the last time you'll see a frying pan being used in this series, but I don't think that's true. I think they replaced it with a kitchen knife in later iterations of the game I'm thinking of. They do have frying pans in Super Mario RPG, though, so we will see it used in an RPG at some point. But I think they replaced the frying pan with a kitchen knife in the other game. I don't remember exactly, though. We'll have to see. I could be misremembering, but I could swear. Lame, straight lame. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the frying pan is the more interesting utensil to throw than a kitchen knife. Kitchen knife, I mean, I guess it'll deal some damage, but like, you know, so would a Fuma Shuriken in that particular case, so. Yeah, wow, I know. Kitchen knife is so sad and basic. Yeah, like I said, I know. It feels like a bit of a downgrade if you ask me. It's mid. But, like I said, I could be misremembering that. It could still be a frying pan. But like I said, I'll have to look when we get there. It won't be too long before we get to see that, but it's going to be a few games before I go back to Final Fantasying after this one, because I want to try to play all of the ones I have left to play kind of evenly over the course of the rest of the RPGs that I have planned, because if I play them too close together, then I'll be out of Final Fantasies to play, and I'll still be like, well, I still have a bunch of projects left to do. Okay, so you see how I have one charge of level 5 magic left, so now I can cast one more Curaga. So I'm going to switch to Curaja now, so that I run out of Curajas before we get into Phase 2. Hopefully. And then, once we run out of Curajas, Lunith needs to stop so that he can throw the, whatchamacallit, so that he can throw the elixir for Ingus so that he can max out his MP again before we get to Phase 2. And then we'll take on Phase 2, and we'll see how bad that goes. This guy is so overtuned, given, like, the rest of the video game, though. Like, I mean, you consider the fact that I was dealing probably, like, 35 to 40,000 damage to the final boss when I was fully buffed up. Well, I didn't even have haste up, actually. And this guy's taking, like, 9,000 damage on average from all 4 of my barrages. And, I mean, when I said I was doing 35 to 40, that's with all 4 barrages. Meanwhile, this guy has so much defense that he just takes almost no damage from any of the stuff I'm doing. It's like, okay, well, I can see they wanted you to grind a little bit for this one, I guess. I don't know if I appreciate that type of design. I feel like it just pads out the game time, but whatever. It better still be the frying pan, because otherwise they'll get no sympathy from me. Reference, I got that one. I used to play Ike a lot when Brawl was out. I sort of fell off with Ike after that. I don't know why, though. He might have just been, like, not fast enough? Or maybe he just didn't jump high enough. I don't remember. I didn't play enough Smash Brothers after Brawl to really know, honestly. I don't think I ever played any of the other ones online. I think Brawl was the last Smash Brothers I played online. Which is funny, because I think it was the first one that you could play online, unless they managed to get Melee up and running online before that. Which I don't think they did, excuse me. But I don't know. Yeah, we're not done yet. Okay. Keep going. I promise the fight will get more interesting, and by that I mean it will turn into panicked screaming very shortly. Don't do that. Yeah, sorry, because I'm going to start a chain reaction in the audience now if I keep doing that. My bad. Fun fact, a guy in your family is called that, and everyone gets him Mike and Ike candy for Christmas. That's funny. Did I just get the... yeah, I did just get the thing beforehand. And this is on the worst possible turn that could have happened, but okay. I guess we'll make do with it. But yeah, that was the situation that I just said before, where Ingus got his turn before the Iron Giant did. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen, it's annoying, because now the Iron Giant's going to go first next turn, and potentially annihilate Lunith, and then that's just literally a hard reset. So now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw the Elixir with Lunith, and then I'll Kiraga everybody and hope for the best. I'm gonna make you go to sleep. Yeah, my bad, like I said. So we'll turn off the fast forward for this part, just because this turn is critical. If things go badly, we'll be resetting right before the phase transition, so which they just went as bad as they possibly could go, because he got his turn before Lunith and meteored me. Okay, but he didn't do much damage with the meteor, so it's probably fine. Only villains do that. Angus Beef. He's turning me into hamburger patties at this rate, or he tried to. It didn't work, but I give him credit for trying. And now we should still heal all the way up with this, because I think Kiraga was healing about 2,700 before. Yeah, just about. Okay, well, we're not quite at full, but that's okay. Alright, so now, instead of just attacking him from this point on, we actually have to throw turtle shells for the entire party. I don't know, the trouble is, I don't know if Eric's turtle shell is worn off yet. That's why I have so many turtle shells, because usually they last between 18 and 20 turns, so I'm just going to throw them until they wear off, because I know the turn after Eric's wears off, Lunith's will, and then Refia and Ingus both also need turtle shells in order to survive. So basically now we get to hang out for a little while and just sort of tread water until everything is thrown. And then from that point, once everybody has a turtle shell on, we'll have Lunith throw a Bacchus Cider for himself. And then we'll load the gun and hope for the best. So, could hamburger, not very hungry. Yeah, fair enough. Which food choices were you making previously that you said were unhealthy then? It's not like burger. I mean, I guess burger comes to mind immediately for me, but... That's because it's my one weakness! That's not true. Popcorn is my one weakness, but... I enjoy a burger every now and then. I indulge every now and then, despite the fact that I'm in a nutrition major. The thing about nutrition, though, I've talked about it before, is that, like, you shouldn't completely omit foods just because they're unhealthy for you, because that sort of, it creates a boundary that you shouldn't have with food. It creates basically it's a boundary that creates a bad relationship between you and food. And food should be nourishing and fun. So yeah, it's not, you shouldn't create that boundary unless it's like something you're hard allergic to, in which case, yeah, that's when that boundary is, warranted. Okay, you see how it didn't say miss there? That means that his turtle shell wore off at the end of the last turn, so now it's back up. So now I can use it on Lunith this coming turn, and then his will go back up. We can give it to Refia, give it to Ingus, throw the Bacchus' Cider, and then hope for the best. 3 ice cream sandwiches? I know. Well, you could have 1. I don't think 1 is going to make a big difference, but 3 might be a lot of ice cream. But then again, I'm saying that from a point of having a weaker constitution, so... I'd be in the bathroom in 2 hours if I ate 3 ice cream sandwiches. So I don't know. Popcorn goated. Popcorn is goated. I love it. I could eat it like crazy and not get enough of it. That is more than 1, At least you've been trying to eat your veggies when you're not sad and hidden in your hole in the wall. Yeah. Well, veggies are good for you. They'll get you that fiber. So. Ouch. That was 2585 on Lunith. I always look at Lunith when it comes to, groups target spells because he has the lowest defense, so I know he's going to be the one to take the most damage. But yeah, veggies are good. You could also, I think we talked about yogurt before. Yogurt is really good for you, especially if it has a little bit of, the probiotic culture in it. Although all yogurt, I think, has probiotic cultures because it's just part of, how they make the yogurt. But you got to feed the probiotics in yogurt as well, so you'll want to eat whole grains, fruits, or vegetables, half an hour before you eat or drink the yogurt. I have these little yogurt shots. They're 6 ounces, and I just drink those. So those are pretty good. But if you feed the probiotics with, they're called, so whole grains, fruits, and vegetables are prebiotics. That's what they're called. If you eat those first, you're feeding the probiotics while they're on their way down into your intestines, so they don't get hungry on the way down and then just start causing you upset stomach. So. Ice cream makes people happy because of sugar. That is true. Yeah, sugar gives you that little bit of a rush. So. Been so sick today. Oh, that's not good. The worst bit is you're not even sure how much of it is your fault or it's just your situation. Well, I won't pry, but I hope it's something that you can, something that can be made better rather than something that you have to live with. You know what I mean? So, hope it gets better. For my part, I will be here for light entertainment, so hopefully that'll make it a little better. All right, so we're just about done with the buffing before we go to phase 2. I sort of slowed down the fight at this point because, I want to show you what I'm doing. I think it should be okay if I do it this way, because I'm going to use Madura next turn, and then Apollo the following turn. Yeah, that should be fine. Basically, I don't want to do it on a turn when I just sang Madura? I forget exactly how it works, but there's a way you can do this where it's you take the least amount of damage possible, but I forget exactly how to do it. It should be fine. But basically, now that we got all of those turtle shells up, we have, let's see, so 18, 17, 16. We have 15 turns to beat this guy, and then after that, I won't be able to maintain, getting turtle shells up and keeping everybody alive, because I would literally need Lunith to throw an elixir and a turtle shell on the same turn, and we can't do that. Unfortunately, W item does not exist in this game, so we won't be able to do that. But I can throw a Bacchus' Cider this turn to prepare myself for a little bit of extra damage. And then things will get a little crazy, because I'm going to be done casting Curaga after this, and we're going to have to cast Curaja, so... Oh, a metabolism issue combined with a dopamine issue. Generally feel tired whenever you're not excited or well-fed. Ah, yeah, that's tough. That's tough, because... Well, I guess... And I'm not a doctor, so obviously take it with a grain of salt, but you could, space out meals so that you're always, 80% of the way full, and basically you eat multiple meals over the course of the day. That would help with, because then your body would be, your metabolism would have to speed up to keep up with everything, and it would give you that little hit of dopamine each time you eat something. But again, not a doctor. Take that medical advice with a grain of salt. You definitely should not listen to people on the internet when it comes to that sort of stuff. But that would just be my first thought, anyway, in terms of helping. But I don't know if that helps much. Okay, so we have 4 arrows to spare, which is fine. But basically, I'm going to swap out to the 96 stack that I have here. And that's, I mean, you're going to want to have... we probably would have had enough in this 96 stack to actually, like, finish the fight. But just in case, I wanted to make sure I had enough arrows. And basically, you can do that where you buy a stack, equip the stack, and then you can buy another stack. And you can have 2 stacks of them in your... whatchamacallit. So, it's 2 stacks in your inventory. Well, 1 equipped and 1 in your inventory, so... Okay, everybody cross your fingers and pray, because the next 6 turns are absolutely crucial for the purpose of our victory. We'll see. Basically, easier to get you sad and distracted from things. You have the markings for an eating problem. Well, and honestly, it's good that you know that that's the case now, because that means that doctors can start working on it before it becomes a problem, you know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between disordered eating and eating disorders. And if... you know, there are people who are aware of the fact that that problem could exist. They can help you manage it before it becomes an eating disorder. So, disordered eating is just a pattern. An eating disorder, there's a problem there. So, and again, I don't want to pry into your situation, obviously, but like, it's good that good that you know that it's there, and hopefully, again, a medical professional knows that it's there, because that will allow them to help you take steps to curb that. He still cast Meteor there, so that's a little concerning. Maybe I didn't do as much damage as I thought I was gonna, but I know I still need to cast Kiraja, especially after this point, because... basically, he should switch Meteor out for something else once he gets into Phase 2. I may have done a little less damage than I have done on previous attempts, but that's okay. We should be fine. Hopefully. I think. Okay, here it comes. Yep, there's the move, and he used it first time. Swipe left. Ow! That hurt a little bit. Is swipe left or swipe right the good thing? I don't know. I've never used those apps, but he swipes left, and it does around 4,000 damage to your entire party. So that's the concerning part right there. The rest of the fight we can manage. That, not so much. So, but yeah, basically at this point we need to get him finished in the next like 5 turns or so, because I won't be able to keep up with that with Kiraga. It will not work. Hopefully we'll have the damage to finish him off in the next 5 turns. Hopefully. Yeah, damn, that damage! I know. So this is why you kind of have to, well, you don't have to grind to do that, but you have to basically hope that you don't get critted. The crit on swipe is what does the 4,000 damage, so... and that was a crit on Lunith right there. So this is a wipe, basically, is what I'm saying right there. So I'm just going to fast forward this, because there is no active way that I can get Lunith up and do everything else with everyone else. Basically, what I would have to do is I would have to cast Raise with Ingus while everybody else dies, and I don't think that's possible. I'll try. No promises, though. Yeah, speaking of sealing, he ate some there. Blam, yeah, really. Worst you've ever gotten into is some portion control with stuff like popcorn and Cheez-Its? Okay, gotcha. Well, I mean, if it's just portion control stuff and you're aware of the portion control, then that should be... you should be able to manage it that way, you know. But yeah, basically, this is unsustainable, what you've got going on here, because I'll provoke him, and there's just... I have to sing Madura and Apollo. If I don't, the whole party gets wiped by swipe. But there's just no way that Ingus will be able to cast Kiraja in time, and even if he does, he has to get his turn first before the Iron Giant every turn from now on in order for us to finish the fight, and it's just not gonna happen, so... yeah, that's a wipe. Dead! At least he got it over with quickly. So as you can see, the actual fight is not the first 130-something thousand HP, it's that part right there, where one wrong crit means death. Unless you're, like, a higher level than this. But this is doable at our current level, and I'm not willing to go above the funny number. So we're going to basically do all of that over again until it works. Or it hits 1030, in which case this will be... Similar to what I thought the original Kingdom Hearts was going to be, where I thought I wasn't going to beat the super boss, and then 2 hours and 15 minutes in, I finally locked in and actually beat the super boss, so, yeah. What you eat, the DPS is death. Yeah, that's just kind of how that fight goes. If he gets one wrong high damage roll on that, it's just the end of the fight, and anything that you do after that is just you struggling against nothing, so... Most of your misery these days comes from living in a society. Wish you were joking. It sounds dumb. Edgy joker. Well, I don't know if it's edgy necessarily. I feel like there's a lot of people that feel a similar way, where it's just like what their living situation is causing them a lot of distress. So I don't think it's uncommon necessarily, Chris. I don't know if that makes it easier to bear, knowing that other people also bear it, but like, yeah. And one of those weird cases where there's kind of too many opportunities and it's hard to pick out the right path. Yeah, I mean, and that can be... I don't know. I've never really been in a situation where I've had too many opportunities, but, like... It can be difficult when you have too many things that you... I don't know if it's necessarily a want thing. Oh, no, I don't want a barrage right away. Or if it's just a this is what's offered thing. But... I would say it wouldn't hurt to... pick one path, but then still keep the other things on the back burner as possibilities, because they're always, I don't know if it's something you can fall back on certain things later on, or what the case might be. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessarily... I wouldn't have that be a constraint, basically, is what I'm saying. So, or try not to make it a constraint. So, well, that was a high-rolling... this is why we cast Kiraja on the first turn, because... That was a high-rolling meteor, because Lunith didn't have a turtle shell up, and that's just the way that the cookie crumbles with this fight sometimes. Sometimes he just high-rolls, and you die. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that good super boss design? This is why I didn't beat this guy for so many years. That's why I want to do it now, because I have a bit of a vendetta against him. But, like a rock, you don't like the chaos of this day and age, you'd rather stay on guard next to a door for 8 hours out of the day. Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I feel like that's not... And again, an uncommon feeling of like, no, like, let me just do something that gives me, like, consistency, you know what I mean, at the very least, because without that consistency, it might be difficult just to do each day, and yeah, it's not as uncommon as you might think. But try to find the thing that lets you be consistent, you know what I mean, but also try to find the thing that lets you feel fulfilled by that consistency. So kind of, I would say, measure up the different options that you have and say, okay, which of these would help me feel consistent, but also wouldn't make me feel like I want to die at the beginning/end of every workday, you know what I mean? So, because if you're doing something that gives you consistency, but it's not particularly fulfilling, you're going to want to do something else, you know what I mean? I don't know how good this life advice is, but, it's stuff I've thought about in, like, other circumstances where it's like, okay, but what could I do? It's actually one of the reasons why I moved over to the nutrition major, because originally when I went in, back to school, they didn't want me to go in on the nutrition major to begin with because I didn't have an established GPA with the school. So they said, okay, well, go in as either a biology major or a sociology major. So I picked sociology because I had more social science background. And they basically... people were saying, well, it might be better to just get your degree out of the way and get done with school. And I had to take the hard stance there and say, well, no, I don't think that would be better, because what am I going to do with a 4-year degree in sociology? Like, I'm sure there are jobs I could find, but I don't think it would be easy to find a job that was both consistent and fulfilling, you know what I mean, with that type of a degree. So I said, nah, I'm going to take the hard stance here. It means I have to go to school more, but it'll be something that I'll find consistent and fulfilling. At the end of the day, that's, to me, more valuable. But, yeah, don't do back of a restaurant. No, that job sucks. That job sucks. Never ever do that for yourself. Like, I'm sure if you've done it, which it sounds like you have, don't do that to yourself again. Don't go back to that place. I've not worked back of restaurant, but I've worked customer service long enough to know I never want to go back to it. So, I gotta keep an eye. Yeah, time to finish incomplete business. I have a bone to pick with you, Iron Giant, and I'm going to pick that bone all the way to the end today, so. Freaking lady told you to get a personality after you cleaned the place with a toothbrush. Is happy to be fired. Well, that's a really weird thing to say to somebody who basically just did really menial labor. Like, what the hell? Get a personality? What? Who just says something like that? Yeah, still you need a job in this world. That's true. But it doesn't have to be back of the restaurant job. It can be something else. Is what I'm saying. Don't feel limited. Don't feel like you have to be in that box where it's like, well, this is what I did. Can I bear it again? I wouldn't try to wear that hat, you know what I mean? It's just I don't think that's a good way to approach work, is to be like, well, can I bear it? It's like, well, you're gonna want to not do it after a while, you know? Happy to sort paperwork for now. Yeah, there you go. I mean, as long as that's not something that makes you feel equally as awful as Back of Restaurant did, then I think it should be okay for now. Don't wait until it feels awful to look for something else, though. Because that's like a pitfall, basically. That's a trap. If you are looking for something else that sounds, again, consistent and fulfilling while that's going on, you'll kind of have that in your back pocket if you need it, you know what I mean? Trying to get a position working on entertainment robots. Oh, that would be interesting. So kind of like getting them, like programming them to do like the motions and stuff for the entertainment program, or am I off the mark there? That's what it sounds like anyway. That sounds interesting. It would play a little into the, from my understanding, you have a little bit of programming experience, so it would definitely play a little bit into that. That sounds neat. I hope you get it. Hope you get the position. Alright, we're out of Kiragas after this turn. So. But you see how smoothly this all goes? It's just, it takes 8 minutes to set it all back up. The first 125,000, 130,000 HP goes down smooth. The rest? Not so much. So. We're out of, well, we're not out of Kiraga, but we only have one left, so switch to Kiraja for 5 turns, then throw the elixir, then throw the turtle shells, then throw the Bacchus cider, and then just throw arrows at the wall until hopefully it works this time. But this is why I wanted this to be the only thing on the docket today, because I was like, nah, if I get bad rolls, like, not even bad rolls, plural, a bad roll at any point during Phase 2 of this boss fight, it's back to start for me. So I said, nah, we're not doing anything else today other than this and finishing the Bestiary, which, by comparison to this, shouldn't take very long. I'm going to show off one of each of the types of dragons you can find in this cave once we're done fighting this guy, because the whole cave will be accessible to us then. Well, there's only one screen in this cave, but we won't have to worry about accidentally wandering too far up and triggering the super boss fight when we're looking for dragons at that point, you know? So, then once we're done with that, we'll be done. So it might not take too long, or it might take 3 hours. I don't know yet. Let's find out how pissy this boss wants to be. Haven't gone hungry, but stability is something you've been struggling with for like the last 10 years. Family split up, mental health, so-so, physical health, and eating habits and exercise, so-so. Yeah. And it's tricky because stability, it's so nice to sound like a thing that could be, what am I trying to say? It's so nice to talk about it, but it's so difficult to achieve it, you know what I mean? I wouldn't necessarily, like, feel like it's not... I wouldn't feel like a failure just because you're not at the point of stability that you want to be at. I would just strive for it, and that, in my eyes, would be a small enough... It would be a small victory that you can appreciate, you know what I mean? So, yeah, kind of feeds into itself, making it stupid hard to fix. Yeah, and that's the problem, is that a lot of that stuff, it's multifaceted, you know what I mean? There's not just one solution that you can just catch all and fix it, so... Yeah. Okay, elixir next turn. So yeah, I try to find small victories in, like, my day-to-day activities, you know what I mean? Because those small victories sometimes are enough to get you by for another few days, quite honestly, without feeling like you're off-center, if that makes sense. Alright, buffing time. So, elixir for you. Everybody else just keep doing what you're doing. And then you go with the last Kiraga. There we go. I'll fast forward through the buffing process this time just because we've seen all of this already, and then we'll slow down once we're getting into phase 2. Because I would like to show the whole thing in gritty detail. No, you're working at it. It's just so slow when you have to make money and feed yourself and get a place, and it feels like you've lost the race. Yeah, I get that. It's not, and I know it's silly to say this because we're all like slowly marching towards like our age is not exactly. We're not getting any younger. I wouldn't worry about it like it's a race. It's more of an endurance run rather than a race. So I wouldn't look at it like a race because that makes it sound like you have to like get things done quickly. And I don't necessarily know if you have to get things done quickly, because as long as they get done, I feel like that ultimately is the bigger victory. It's hard to describe that without sounding really esoteric and not particularly helpful, but like the process of working on it in my eyes is a victory in and of itself, if that makes sense. So. Oh look, there's Eric taking damage without the turtle shell on to give you an idea of how much damage he would take in a single turn if he didn't have the turtle shell up. That's 4,000 damage that my tank just took. That's great. I love that for me. Alright, Luna, if you throw the turtle shell this time. This, and then more Kiragas. Should be good now. Not a constant issue, still have people to care, food, and thank God, air conditioning. Oh my God, yeah. Oh, you only have to live without air conditioning for a certain amount of time before you realize, yeah, no, this sucks. I would much rather have that than not have that. I've always thought about, like, once I get myself settled and secure and everything like that, I've thought about moving further north. I'd have to get dual citizenship in order to move further north than where I... Well, maybe not necessarily. I can move further north in the United States without getting dual citizenship, but any further than that, I'd have to go to Canada. I've thought about it, though, because not just because of the fact that, like, I don't know, it's been a goal, but I don't necessarily know if it's a goal just because of anything other than, well, you know, summers it won't be 90 degrees and above every day for 4 weeks in a row. I don't know, is that a petty reason to want to move further north? I feel like it is, but it's my reason, so I don't feel like it matters if it's petty or not. So, I hate to make that about me. I know you're talking about you, so sorry about that. Just more irritating on days like this where you're tired and with conflict at the door. Yeah. And those are definitely the days where, you know, all of those other concerns, they seem like they're just cloying at you, you know what I mean? So, it's like, it puts you at a matter of unease just by being in a situation where you have to figure out other circumstances along with those circumstances, you know? So, I get you. Alright, this is the last Kiraga turn, Bacchus's Cider, and then we go. I wish I could sing Minuet, but there's literally no way. Like, I would just take too much damage if I didn't have Min and LG up every turn, so. It's unfortunate, but just the way the super boss goes. So. Always wanted to go there. Like a cold, rocky place to be in. Yeah. It's, I don't know, it just feels like... It's literally, at this point, I feel like it's literally just, it's cooler there, and I know it's only going to get warmer from here on out for the next however many years. It's like it's like Cefico put in the comments the one time, for which stream was it? I don't remember, but he posted something when I was talking about how warm it was, because this was when I didn't have the air conditioner set up, and he said, you know, honestly, this is going to be the coldest summer of the rest of your life. And I was like, yeah, oh no, it was during the Chrono Cross playthrough, that was what it was, because I was loading up on Ice Blasts or something like that, or Fire Pillars, I forget what it was, probably Fire Pillars for the super boss fight in that game. And he said, yeah, this is the coldest summer of the rest of your life. And I was like, no, I'm going to rapidly load Ice Blasts instead of Fire Pillars if it means my air conditioning can work better. So, let's see. Alright, we have the Bacchus Cider up, so... Kiraja and Prey, here we go! We're back, this is attempt 2. Everything before this was just filler. This is attempt 2. Did set a rather ridiculous goal for yourself. Get everything done in the next 20 years, the whole bucket list. You're about 8 years into that. Well, and I wouldn't worry too much about, well, I have to have this done in 20 years. Get as much of it done as you can, obviously. But, like, if you don't get all of it done, it's not like, you know, it's not like you're absolutely screwed in that department, you know what I mean? Okay, I did switch to the other UH heroes. I forgot if I did that. Welcome back, Pad. We are on attempt 2 officially. I have buffed everybody up. We're in the process of casting Kirajas, although it looks like I can get away with one more Kiraga. But I don't want to do that and then get swiped, because then he'll swipe left and I'll die. But welcome back. We're officially on attempt 2 now. Swipe left, swipe left. Ouch. But, ouch, but, I mean, it should be okay, because we, are just about... Oh, we're all at full. Okay, good. That's good. So okay, so here's the thing. I haven't really fully explained this. I talked about it with the turtle shells. So the turtle shells last between 80 and 80? Yeah, that'd be great. 18 and 20 turns. So that's why I had to rebuff those. Bacchus's Cider seems to last about 5 turns. So I'm trying to get in as much damage in the 5 turns that it lasts as I can before everything just hits the wall here. So right now we're on, I think we have 3 turns left of it. So do whatever we can right now. Like, now I'm not worried about how much damage I'm dealing, because we don't have to worry about any phase changes from this point on. We just have to worry about killing him. So. And as usual, I'm always looking at Luneth's HP bar, because he's the one, if anybody's going to take a crit and die, it's either going to be Luneth or it's going to be Ingus. I don't... Basically, if Eric gets killed, I'll know, because Eric will take, you know, too much damage from the swipe, and then he'll slowly get picked off by the other physicals. So. Never like to see swipe first in a turn, though. That's no good. But yeah, as you can see, we have a little bit of leeway with Eric's HP, where he should be able to survive the other 3 attacks if swipe comes first. It's just surviving the turn after that that can be a little tricky, especially if he swipes first again, because even the Kiraja at this point is not fully keeping up with the DPS. But we'll see what we can do. Already drawn a comic, hosted a radio program, wrote a book, built a computer, operated a robot, made a video game, etc. That and finishing school plus job. Yeah, well, those are, I mean, don't let yourself feel like those are not big victories, because those are big victories. So, that's a lot. I've also thought about writing a book, and I have not done it yet. I should probably do it while I'm in school, because after that point, it's only going to get harder and harder to write the book. But yeah, those are all, you know, big things. Those are all big accomplishments, so congrats on all of those. Definitely, don't discount yourself. Don't make yourself feel like, given all of the things you've already done, don't make it feel like, oh, I haven't done anything. No, you've done a lot already, so. Alright, so let me turn off auto, because we're just about at the end here, I think. Maybe one more turn after this. My Bacchus Cider will be up, but... I was gonna say, about 3 seconds later, I shouldn't have said anything, because now Luneth is gonna get wiped out. But... it's okay. We're okay for now. Unfortunately, I am out of Kirajas, so after this turn, we need to finish this, like, ASA now. And I mean, honestly, if I was overconfident as all hell, I'd have Refia sing Requiem, like, actually use the Lamia harp. But I feel like that's too much of a risk to take right at the end of the boss fight, you know? Like, I have no guarantee that Luneth will go before this guy, even though Luneth has, like, the highest amount of agility any job could possibly have at this point, other than Ninja, which would probably have a little bit more because the Massimium gives a +10 to agility, along with all the other stuff, but I don't know. Yeah, I just gotta lock in! Alright, everybody lock in. Luneth, get your turn before this guy so we can all go home. I'm gonna do it in slow motion so we can all hold our breath here. Okay, he got his turn, but will it be enough? Yes. Yes, it will. Oh, 2 attempts, baby! We got him! Alright. Well, that was not as hellish as I thought it was going to be. Still a little bit hellish because we died, you know, right near the phase transition before, but, well, we died right after the phase transition, but yeah, it was okay. Yeah, nice, exactly. And we did it at level 69, so it's definitely nice. They don't solve your money problem yet. Still got to get that cool new job and save up before the big one. Go across the country. Oh, yeah, go across the country in an RV is a fun one, yeah. I've got a cross-country trip on my own bucket list at some point, so... Then probably get a house and yell at them damn kids! Them darn kids! Something like that, yeah. I've got the cross-country trip on my bucket list as well. I don't know when it'll happen, but it'll happen eventually, so... But yeah, you know, the cool new job and the saving up, you'll get that done. It's just a matter of finding that cool new job, you know. Which, again, it sounds like the other one that you were just talking about, programming entertainment robots. That one sounds fun, so hopefully you get that one. And then see how fun that one is, and maybe, you know, pivot off of that one into something more fun if it's fun, but not necessarily consistent and fulfilling, you know. Well, Lunith, that was a left-handed Iron Giant, which is not normal, but... Yeah, so this hole in the ocean that we're like actually inside of here, this probably has something to do with that shooting star. At this point in Final Fantasy's like history, when they were doing a lot of the PSP remakes and stuff, shooting stars were actually a fairly common like interwoven theme between the games, and actually, if I remember correctly, shooting stars are the reason why the after years for Final Fantasy IV even happens. I could be misremembering that, but that's just from like what little I remember of the after years from watching it. But like, obviously, there's also like the meteor spell. There's the starfall spell from Final Fantasy II. I don't think Final Fantasy I had any shooting stars in it, but 2, 3, and 4 kind of had like an interwoven theme, and then 5, of course, had the meteors that are in the game as well, but I think that was less of a commonality with these games. So the meteors in that game caused problems, but they were in the game in 1992. So anyway, we beat the Iron Giant. Awesome. Yeah, no, you would not have been able to do that while you lived in Sasune. It would have killed you in one hit. Eric had maximum defense, and he still took 250 damage per hit from that thing. So... But yeah, for beating the Iron Giant, you get the medal card. So that's literally just like a trophy. It's like the Omega badge or anything like that in other Final Fantasy games, just to show that you did it. It should be... Oh no, it's not in here. It's in key items. Never mind. There we go. Where is it? There it is. Proof that you felled the Iron Giant. So that's another card. I don't think that card counts towards the 23 card count that you see in the menu, though, when you go look at your achievements back on the Invincible. So... Just having a real melt into the floor, but I gotta do all that moment. Wonder how many times these Heroes of Light felt daunted like that. All that for a novelty t-shirt? All I got was this stupid shirt? Yeah, all that just for this card, basically, and that's all I got. Honestly, I feel like Heroes of Light probably do have those daunting moments, and I appreciate games that show those daunting moments more because it helps the characters feel more human. I don't feel like this game they really had that moment, other than when we died and got resurrected near the end of the game, I guess. But, I mean, this game did come out in 1990, so I feel like, you know, they had to consider cartridge space at that point, whether or not they could tell that kind of a story. But, yeah, so now his little sword, big sword, will stick out of the ground here forever. And now, the main thing that we can do is, well, equip these and then equip all the Yoichi arrows we have left, because there's 3 more things I want to do in this area before we leave. So let's go do them. We gotta go find all 3 of the dragons. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna equip all of this stuff again, because we don't need the ribbons, but we do need protect rings, because the dragons have elemental attacks that they'll do on you. So, but yeah, now we can run around the whole area without being attacked by a giant steel monster. So that'll allow us to find these dragons fairly, not easily necessarily, but they're the only 3 encounters you can find in this cave. So here's the red dragon. He's the toughest of the 3. I'll probably... Do I have to sing? I'll sing... Here's what I'll do. I'll do this, and then... Oh, well, everything is all out of order here. There we go. I'll sing this, and then I'll sing Apollo next turn to try to, like, minimize the damage from elemental attacks. But, I mean, we have a white mage in the party now, so I don't really think I need to worry too much about the damage that we're taking. I'm just going to cast Libra this turn because we're all at full HP. So. But yeah, this is the toughest of the 3 dragons. He's level 70, so he's actually a higher level than we are. We'll get a little more experience because he's a higher level than we are. And he's got 100,000 HP, if I remember correctly. It's pretty hard, but I don't have any defensive buffs up right now, so that's probably why. Let's see how much damage Lunith does with his hasted up barrage there with all of the maxed out damage that he can do there. Let's see, that's like 61,335? Did I do my math there correctly? That's quite a lot of damage. Now that's a lot of damage! I'll sing Apollo this turn, because he'll be dead at the end of this turn, so it's not really a big deal. And then just Cura everybody. He's got a chin sharper than claws. Yeah, talk about the Crimson Chin. But we'll get the toughest one out of the way right at the beginning, so there you go. Like I said, I'm not too worried about these guys, because after the Iron Giant, those guys are cake. They just don't have the kind of HP or defense to be able to do that stuff, so... Oh yeah, and they drop Onion equipment, so you can actually get Onion Sword, Onion Shield, Onion Helm, Onion Mail, and Onion Gloves from them. These are special equipment that you can give to the Onion Knight classes, and I forget if they just give them more stats or what. Let me look, hang on. I can look at their equipment draw right now to tell you. Weapons, just to see what this Onion Sword does. I guess we can see what it looks like. Well, we won't be able to see what it looks like because I won't be using Onion Knight. Onion Sword. Yeah, Onion Sword gives +5 to all stats and has 156 attack. So it has more attack than one more attack than the Ultima weapon, but it gives less stats. So there you go. But it's one of the pieces of Onion equipment that the dragons can drop. You just look at everything else while I'm looking at this one. Let's see. No, abilities, stats, equipment. There we go. Weapons. Alright, so the Onion Shield gives 30 defense, 30 magic defense, and all stats +2. So kind of like a Protect Ring, except in the shield slot. The Onion Helm gives 40 defense, 40 magic defense, and Mind and Intellect +5, while also protecting against all status effects. So it's basically a ribbon, but with more defenses on it. The Onion Mail... Control F that. Oh, let's look at the Onion Gloves, since apparently those are the Onion Gauntlets, I guess they're called. Those are going to be closer to the bottom. The Onion Gauntlets give 50 defense, 25 magic defense, give all stats +3, and also apparently protect against all status effects. I don't know why they did it that way, but... Oh, it's Onion Armor, not Onion Mail. Okay. And the Onion Armor gives 60 defense, 40 magic defense, and strength and vitality +5. So you don't get agility +5. Basically, you get all stats +5 and everything except agility +10 if you equip all of it. But there you go. So remember the Korriban game told you about some time ago? The test thing is for mobile since it's free. If you buy it anywhere else, it costs money, but it's full, you believe? Oh, okay. So, I mean, I can check and see if the test thing is, if there's still any availability in it and just, you know, give it a shot. I looked at the game, and I just haven't, like, gone ahead and bought anything with it previously, so that's, yeah. I'll look at it some more, though, just to see if, like I said, I'll see if the test is open, like, to where I can get into it. But, yeah, I'll look into it a little bit more just to see if it's something I can get into. If it's not, that's okay. I might, you know, might still end up buying it eventually anyway. And I mean, worst comes to worst, I can play it a little bit, because, like, on Steam, you can refund after, I think, a couple of hours of play, so, at the most. So, since that's the case, I can just, you know, play it for a couple hours, see if it's something that's interesting to me, and if it's not, then I can go from there. Oh, sadly, they updated the test version. They cut the cave zone, which is where the boss fight afterwards is. Oh, okay. So you don't really get the chance to fight that boss then. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but... Like I said, worst comes to worst, I can always just look for it and play it, like, at a test run. Like, purchase it and then play it on a test run. I'm still trying to, at the moment, I'm still trying to get my money back because of the fact that I have to replenish my funds, basically, before I go buying anything, because I took a vacation earlier this summer. I think I told everybody about it. I went hiking in the mountains, and so I'm trying to replenish money from that. That was one of the reasons why I worked this summer. And so now that we're getting closer to the the beginning of the semester, I have to worry about buying textbooks, buying a meal plan, all of that stuff, because I get financial aid, but I don't get reimbursed on it until like November. So I have to be a little bit concerned about that. But once I have disposable income again, it'll be a lot easier to like do any of that stuff. So could before, but they added more little creatures since then. Yeah, okay. So we'll take a look at it. I'll take a look at it and see if I can do anything about it. Here's the green dragon. I think this one's the weakest of the three, if I remember correctly. I think it's level 50. Probably still has like close to 99,999 HP. But let's find out, shall we? Let's poke this can open and see how much it'll do. Yeah, creature. It's like preacher. Okay, it's 89,999, so there you go. But that's not too bad. We can handle that. So, I guess I'll Dream Harp since... Oh, we didn't even take any damage. Well, what did he do last turn? Or did we get a preemptive strike? Maybe we got a preemptive strike. Alright, well. So just do this, do that, and then do that. I wish I could turn one of these guys into a toad so I could actually cast the toad spell and use it offensively, but it's okay. The toad spell will see use as an offensive spell in the next Final Fantasy game that I play. Oh look, there's an onion shield. So we actually have 2 out of the 5 pieces of equipment just from running around here. So I think what they're trying to tell you with this, basically, is that what you should do is you should, in order to fight this guy, you should come here, not go all the way up to the day to activate him, and then just kind of run around this little corridor here, getting onion equipment for everybody, and then have your onion knights at or above level 90. But that's ridiculous, because by the time you're level 90 with onion knights, like, you're gonna be... You'll have way too much HP, and the boss fight will kind of be trivial, because the main draw to that boss fight is the fact that he's got, like, so much HP, and he can deal so much damage that if you just have way too much HP, you just have too much of a buffer, you know what I mean? So that's why I wanted to fight him at around this level, because at this level we have enough HP to survive, but also just a little bit too little HP to be comfortable, you know what I mean? So that was why I wanted to fight him now. I guess it worked out okay because we survived, but I'm just going to cast Toad on him anyway. I'm pretty sure these dragons are immune to all status effects, but I'm going to cast it just because. Yeah, there's just a little bit of masochism in there. I'd rather... Well, okay, so it depends. How do you want your masochism, right? Do you want your masochism in the form of banging your head against a brick wall for a couple of attempts, if the guy hits you the wrong way one time you die? Or do you want your masochism in the form of having to grind for 12 hours to get up to level 80 and then there being no challenge left in the fight? So you get your masochism both ways. It just depends on what flavor you want. So... Also, we're above the funny number in level now, which is a little unfortunate, but that was going to happen anyway, I guess. So. I'll just cast a regular cure. That's fine. Yeah, we've wiped the dragons out at this point. Like, the only one that's left, we saw the yellow dragon on screen during the actual playthrough, but I don't think I have it in my bestiary on this file. So since I don't have it on this file, I'm just going to try to find it on screen again. Yeah, Ozma in a nutshell. How do you want your masochism? What flavor do you want? Hello, Bronzestorm. How you doing? Welcome back. You actually missed it. We just finished fighting the Iron Giant, so now I'm just completing the bestiary by fighting the 3 dragons in this cave. We found the green dragon and the red dragon, and we found the yellow dragon on screen, but that's on a separate file from this one, so I'm just going to try to find it on screen for this one so that I can have that 100% bestiary. Yeah, slow, horrible, soul-crushing version of masochism? If I'm gonna grind, I'd rather just go to work. At least they'll pay me to grind there. Why aren't dragons real? I get a feeling we'd have a bit of a problem if they were real. Honestly, though, if dragons were real, I would hope that they were just like the cool kinds of dragons that just sort of like hoarded gold and then gave out wisdom when you traded them, something that they could add to their pile. Just like, you know, never, like they established right away that, okay, you don't take my gold and we'll be fine. And then human hubris would get in the way and everyone would take their gold, so they'd burn the world to the ground. But in an ideal situation, nobody would take their gold and they'd just be like, you know, humans are all right. They don't bother my gold pile. Everything's good. I'll just give them bits of wisdom because I've lived for thousands of years at this point. So I can give them a little bit of wisdom instead of just burning their whole society to the ground. You checked out the VOD a while ago to catch up. Nice. Well, you are just about all caught up, so... we had to do 2 attempts on the Iron Giant because we wiped on the first attempt at about the phase change, so... How much HP does the Iron Giant have, actually? 199,999. Seems like he has way more HP than Cloud of Darkness. So he has more, because I think Cloud of Darkness has like 130,000, if I remember correctly, but he also has significantly more defense, which is why that boss fight takes forever, because, so we were doing about 40,000 damage per barrage to the Cloud of Darkness. By comparison, we were doing about 9,600 damage to the Iron Giant, because his defense is just so much higher that we just can't inflict enough damage to really make a difference there. So yeah, that's why. It seems like he has way more HP, but I think it's actually just way more defense. He has some more HP, but I think it's more a defense issue than it is an HP issue. So, but we got him on the second attempt, so he didn't crit us. Yeah, I think he has 99 defense, if I remember correctly, which is uncommon in this game. Typically in this game, enemies having more than 50 defense is rare. So, like even the Cloud of Darkness, I think only has 46 defense. If I want to guess, I could be wrong about that, but I don't think it's very much. So, if it's more than that, it can't be much more, basically. So. Yeah, this might not be a bad place to train in the end game if you're, you know, willing to just ride the line and not walk up to the day if you want to try to do this. I don't like this, like, training in this cave quite so much, though, because you actually have to physically find each of the dragons. I mean, granted, there's only dragons in this cave, and they all give lots of experience, but with the other method where the Blucks summon the Muck-Mucks, spelled backwards, with that method, you don't actually have to walk around. You literally can just be in the same fight for as long as you want, and you can effectively auto-battle through them as long as you have a strong physical attacker. So. At least you can somewhat kind of reach the 9,999 cap with these bosses, unlike the 2D versions. Yeah, in the 2D versions, I don't think you can get there because maybe black belts have enough vitality to do it, but I feel like that's still very difficult for you to do in the 2D versions. So, in this version, as long as you have, you know, a sufficiently leveled black belt, you can basically, like if I was to have Lunith switch over from Ranger to black belt right now, I could go into the Crystal Tower, and I wouldn't quite kill the Muck-Mucks with one physical attack, but if I raised his job level up to like, on black belt, probably like 50, he'd be able to inflict over 9,999 damage thanks to his arm strength and thanks to the raw damage he gets from job levels and arm strength levels and character level. With his bare hands, he'd be able to inflict enough damage to just kill each Muck-Muck from the back row in one hit. So at that point in time, then you can basically have everybody be on black belt because you won't need healing for much of a reason at all because black belts have a lot of HP and you only get more. You can always high potion if you need to, or you can switch jobs and then quickly cure yourself and then go back. So, which dragon am I looking for again? Yellow dragon, I think it is. I'm pretty sure because we've seen green already. So, but these red dragons seem to be the more common ones that we are seeing. Oh, I'm almost out of Yoichi arrows. Okay, well, that's a problem. Never in my life did I think it was going to come down to I'm out of arrows, but apparently, I mean, I'm not going to run out of arrows. I've got 96 magic arrows, and those will still two-round these guys. So. Now let me look, actually, speaking of 9,999 HP, because there's a certain threshold of HP, according to Sephiraga's FAQ, FAQ. According to Sephiraga's FAQ, there's a certain amount of HP you need to be at in order to reach 9,999 by the end game. So hold on, let me look. Nope, that's not it. This one, that one. There we go. Max HP. Okay, so at the level we're at, level 70, in order for me to get to 9,999 HP by level 99, I need to have 5,127 HP, which means nobody in the party currently would reach 9,999 by level 99 at the moment. What I would do, basically, in order to fix that, is I could switch over to Black Belt with Eric for a couple of levels, and then he'd be over the threshold, and then we'd be good to go, so... You have this card game that you like, and it has this cool bullet dragon-like card. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Like I'm trying to picture what a bullet dragon would look like. So is it like a metal dragon or something? Probably be tough to describe without me actually seeing the cards, you know, so... The only thing I think, though, in terms of, like, getting to 9,999 HP in the Pixel Remaster is, like, there wouldn't really be much to use it on, you know what I mean? Like, in the Pixel Remaster, the Iron Giant doesn't exist, so the toughest monsters in the game are these 3 dragons, which you only see 5% of the time in, you know, the Crystal Tower, and the Cloud of Darkness itself, where you don't necessarily need anywhere remotely near that amount. I mean, I guess for completionist's sake, it might be something you'd want to strive towards, but... Like, you can beat the Cloud of Darkness probably at level 55. Well, I'm spitballing. I haven't played the Pixel Remaster, so I'm just spitballing and saying, well, you could probably do it at this level. I don't know how true that is, but my assumption would be if it just does, like, Flare Wave every turn. Or is it Flare Wave in the Pixel Remaster, or is it Particle Beam? I don't know. But if it does Particle Beam every turn like it did in the NES version, or Flare Wave, you could probably get away with having about 3,000 HP and just healing every turn and being okay. I don't know how true that is, though, because I haven't played that version, so I couldn't tell you. I'm not really planning on investing in any more of the Pixel Remasters myself, because I bought 6's Pixel Remaster, and that's enough for me, honestly. Like, that's the only one where, like, the purchase feels justified because of the mechanical changes that happen in the Pixel Remaster for convenience's sake. The other versions of the game, like, I mean, you already see me playing this version of Final Fantasy III. We played the PSP versions of 1 and 2. We're going to play the PSP version of 4. We're going to play the GBA version of 5. So, yeah. Is it Particle Beam every turn? Gotcha. Yeah, so... You could probably get away with about 3,000 HP and being okay healing every turn. Gives you a little buffer in case you go first and then you go last the next turn. The problem you have with Pixel Remaster, they gave every Crystal Tower boss the same HP they had in the 3D version, but you're dealing damage like in the 2D versions. Oh, yuck, I hate that. What the hell? That's awful. Because, like, you're not even remotely going to be dealing the same amount of damage because the 2D versions of the game, you just don't have a lot of the busted stuff you do in this version. I don't even think you get Minuet in the 2D versions. I think bards get, like, everything but Minuet. Incorrectly, but I could be wrong about that. But that's gross. Why would they do that? That seems like a really ridiculous... Like, that seems like the kind of change that was done by somebody who didn't know what they were doing. Like, they programmed the game, and they knew what the game's programming was going to be like, and then they still did that anyway, because they were like, ah, screw it, people will buy it anyway. Like, what the hell? I mean, it's not the first time I've heard something that makes me think that that was what they did when it came to the Pixel Remasters, but it's another... piece of evidence to add to the fuel to the fire, you know? So, the issue with the 3 bosses is that obnoxious random speed order. Yeah, that's honestly, that's the biggest problem, quite honestly, is that it's one of the toughest things about the first 3 Final Fantasies is that there's random speed order, and, like, even if you have more agility than the bosses, that does not guarantee that you'll get your turn first, which, honestly, I feel like would be easier to program it where you have your turn, like, you get your turn just if you have higher agility first. Like, I feel like that'd be easier to program, but apparently they put some factors of randomness in there, and that seems silly. Like, I don't know why they would do it that way. It seems harder to program, and it seems like more of a pain in the nuts for players that way, you know? So. Took you 15 minutes in every crystal boss and 30 minutes during the Cloud of Darkness. Yeah. Honestly, I could see it, considering with the random speed order and everything. Like, you might actually want to go above 3,000 HP then, because you'll need a little more of a buffer, since, you know, you could go... With all the extra HP that they've got going on, you could go first or last, and that's a pain, so... Oops, oh, whatever, that's I hope the yellow dragon spawns sometime today. It's been, what, half an hour since we beat the Iron Giant? I'd like to go home. Actually. Well, that would have been nice if I had actually, like, healed Eric instead of healing Ingus from that cure. But oh well. I mean, we've seen the yellow dragon already on screen, so I'm not really super concerned about it, but, like, I don't have it in the bestiary for this version of the game, so, like, this save file. So the bestiary will forever be at 99% if I was to go back there now. I mean, it's not like I can't just fix that off screen, but I don't think it's that difficult to encounter these dragons. I feel like probably it should just be in an order where it's like, okay, you do red, then yellow, then green, then red, then yellow, like, make it like a stoplight, you know what I mean? But I don't know. How many arrows do you have left now, Luna? Hold on, let's see. 76 total, okay. Well, we've still got quite a few, but it's surprising me how many red dragons I'm finding. And it honestly, they might have the red dragon spawns up just because they want this, because this is the one that gives the most experience. So they might be like, well, make it so that they can find more red dragons because that way they can get their levels faster. But, like, that's just a pain in the ass for people who are trying to get this done for the bestiary's sake, you know? It's super bad in Final Fantasy III, especially because of how many bosses boil down to, is he gonna use the nuke? Yeah, that is a problem that we had to face. I mean, we even had to face it in the final boss fight in this version of the game, where it was like, okay, Ingus, like, Luna was at a point where he would not have survived another particle beam if Ingus got his turn after the Cloud of Darkness. So I said it in the boss fight. I said, Ingus, if there's ever a time for you to get your turn before the final boss, this is that turn. So... but we did get our turn, so we didn't have to worry about it. That being said, it was still a concern that I had to deal with. It's one of the reasons, I think, why they switched over. Instead of just making it so that, okay, well, agility is 1-to-1, are you slower or faster than the boss, like some other games do. Instead of doing that, I think it's one of the reasons why they switched over to, like, an active time battle system after this game. They wanted to do something that was still felt dynamic, but also still had that factor of, well, are you going to be faster? There we go. Are you going to be faster or slower than the enemy that you're fighting? You know what I mean? So. Oh, I didn't show this off before. So, since this is the last enemy we need to fight for the rest of the game, I can show off what happens if you barrage with not enough arrows. It's kind of stupid, but I think it'll be funny to watch anyway, so. I don't think you can barrage without arrows equipped, but I guess we'll find out next turn, won't we? So, but this is what happens if you barrage with... I've only got one arrow equipped, so I'll be able to shoot the first time, but after that... it's rapid fire, and then rapid fire fist! Never thought we'd hear from that old meme again, but apparently there it is, and look at that, I still did over 9,999 damage. I mean, it's probably because this guy's the lowest level dragon, because he looks even smaller than the green dragon, now that I'm looking at him. So, makes me wonder why the... yeah, he's the lowest level one. It makes me wonder why the regular dragon that's in the Temple of Time doesn't have this, like, palette to him, except he's blue. Because then he'd be unique from all the other dragons, because this one's yellow, the other ones are green and red. So. But anyway, we got enough magic arrows. Oh, did it? Hang on. Oh, I can... okay, I can still barrage without arrows equipped, so actually that's good to know, because if you can barrage without arrows equipped, that means it's even easier to, like, job level train with Ranger, because you can just not equip arrows and then deal 0 damage while you're... while you're using barrage. So basically, the gist of this, to tell you, is that if arm strength exists in your version of the game, Ranger is the best starting melee class for whomever you're going to use. It doesn't matter what melee job you'll use after that, they should be a Ranger beforehand, because then they can use barrage to build their arm strength up. And then once their arm strength is built up, once you get the Earth Crystal, you can switch over to whichever melee job you want, and they'll be able to smack people upside the head like crazy, because their arm strength will be so high that they'll have a massive damage output that they would not have if they used any other job. So yeah, if arm strength exists in your version of Final Fantasy III, Ranger is the way to go. Use that barrage skill. Rapid fire smack, exactly. So, alright, we're done here. We found everything in this cave. We found all of the monsters in this entire game. And I can show you what they all are now, because we can go see the bestiary on the Invincible. So let's get back to the Invincible, shall we? So basically, just for the directions to get back, let's just do it in reverse order. Go straight north till we hit the Ceronian continent. and then go slightly east-northeast until we get there. So yeah, there's the arrow here. Excuse me. And here's Saronia. So we can do this. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? Because I don't need to worry about fighting that boss anymore. I'm gonna save. Let's just save over top of this one. It's fine. There we go. I'll leave the save file in case I want to, for some godforsaken reason, fight the super boss again. But something tells me I'm not going to do that. All right, so let's go take a look at the fruits of our labor, shall we? So we got two little galleries to look at. First thing I'll do, I guess, is I'll look at the records here. Although I guess this is going to show all the bestiary anyway. But let's look at our achievements. So yeah, that doesn't actually, the iron card that we got for beating, or the metal card that we got for beating that guy, it doesn't count towards the master cards there. Those are just for job mastery. But as you can see, we got 100% of the treasure chests open in the game, all 375 of them. I actually only managed to successfully flee from 7 battles on this save file, so that's telling. But there's the maximum damage that we've done. So you see how much higher that is than 9,999. So that's in 4 hits from one single barrage. Luneth was able to deal over 73,000 damage to something in this game. I don't know what it was, but it was something. Probably something I got a crit on, honestly. And then we've got the 4 mastery cards. I could go get mastery cards on this save file for the other jobs, like I didn't get them for warrior, black mage, white mage, or thief. I could go get them now if I wanted to. Oh, and before we look at the bestiary, actually, that reminds me. So at this point in time, the only thing left for me to do on this save file is to grind out the rest of the job mastery cards. So at this point we have 8, because all these jobs are job level 99. Plus, in Luneth's case, warrior is 99. In Eric's case, thief. In Refia's case, black mage. And then in Angus's case, scholar. If you've been following along, if you've been playing along with me at this point, Thief and Scholar are the only 2 jobs out of the whole list that do not have access to the Guard command. They have Steal and Flee, or Magic and Study, depending on which one you have. Every single other job on this list, all 22 others and the ones we have equipped, have access to the Guard command. So if you were to grind up job levels at this point to get all those mastery cards, it would be as simple as finding goblins, guarding for at a maximum 10 turns, and then just finishing the battle. Which is like 15, 16 hours worth of grinding, to be clear, but you could do it very easily if you so chose. Now there's a total of 23 jobs, so how do you split that up? Well, it's about 6 jobs per person, but one person in your party gets away with not doing 6 jobs, they get to only do 5. So basically what I would do then is, okay, well, in this particular example, Eric has a decent black belt level because I leveled him for the vitality boost with black belt, and Angus also has a decent black belt level. So basically I'd have the both of them master black belt. I'd only get 1 mastery card from that, but they'd both master it, and then have everybody else do, you know, like in this case, Luneth has 2 jobs mastered, have him do 4 more, have Eric do 4 more, or 3 more, depending on who I want it to do, have Refia do 4 more, and then have Angus do 3 or 4 more. So like, Luneth master 4 more jobs, Eric master 4 more jobs, Refia master 4 more jobs, Angus master 3 more jobs. Done. Game over. We've gotten the whole kit and caboodle out of the way. The game at that point is 100%ed. At this point in time, the game's not 100%ed because I did not get all the job mastery cards, but that's literally just grinding for the sake of grinding, and I'd rather move on with my life, so we won't do that. But if you've been playing along the same way as I have, you've used the same jobs as I have, at this point in time, you don't have to worry about like pressing Steal 10 times or pressing Study 10 times, because it'll take more time than just pressing Guard 10 times, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit less tedious if you've done things this way. Plus then you also, you know, got to have a silly time using Scholars when they probably should not be used. So gotta love the mechanic that requires 80% of the game's playtime to grind. Yeah, because you can beat this game's main story in like 22 hours on a casual playthrough. Meanwhile, it takes you, they probably wonder, oh, why is your playtime like 60 hours? Well, I spent 40 of those grinding jobs. Most people would look at you and be like, why? So, anyway, the bestiary. Let's look at the bestiary. So, number defeated, it actually only goes up to 255. If I go down to the Muck-Mucks, spelled backwards here, which is quite a ways down, but you'll see it up here. They go. Hang on, wait for it. There they are. Yeah, I've definitely beaten more than 255 of them, but the number defeated in the bestiary only goes up to 255. So there you go, in case you're wondering what that is. Beaten 143 goblins, though, so apparently there's that. So now we can just take a look at them and we'll swap between things. It looks like it loads a little bit. I won't take too much time doing this. I'm just going to spend like a second on each enemy to show you all the ones we can see. So now these, basically the ones that we saw were Altar Cave. These are the ones that are outside of Altar Cave. Ooh, I spent not much time on Werewolf, that's okay. These ones are in the Sealed Cave, if I remember correctly, and also in that one tower in Castle Sasane. I don't know why they just have random zombies and mummies wandering around in Castle Sasane, although I don't know if they did have mummies and zombies in that castle. They might have just had stuff like these larvae. So, you know. I forget if these ones were in, I feel like these ones were probably in the Mithril Mine, if I had to guess. So, these are on the Dragon's Peak. Alright, Bronzestorm, take it easy. We'll see ya. We'll be moving to a new game on the next stream on Saturday, so there you go. Here's the Rustbird. We didn't see this guy on screen, but it's kind of a cool design. I wish they used it in other places in the game. I've seen plenty of Rook, though. These guys are outside near Canaan, and near Tozus, actually, as well. So these guys, this Leprechaun and this Darkface, yeah, these guys are in the Tozus Tunnel. Now we're in the Nepto Temple. There's a few of these that we didn't see on screen. So, and the smaller version of the giant rat there, the were-rat. These ones are available in the Inner Sea on the Floating Continent. So, I think we saw all of these guys, though. So, that's a good thing. This Parademon is actually available on the world map around the Floating Continent. Usually any enemy from the Parademon onward you can find somewhere on the outer ring of the Floating Continent on land. So that's where all of these were found. Some of these are found by the Village of the Ancients, some of them are found by Gasal, some of them are found in the full southern or full northern regions of the Floating Continent's outer ring, but basically if you walk around the ring you'll find these. So same thing with Slime there. That's an interesting battle backdrop that Slime's got there. I don't know if we ever got that battle backdrop anywhere with the clouds. It's interesting. Okay, so now we're into the enemies in the Tower of Owen. And I think, if I remember correctly, one of these is only available on the first floor. Yeah, it's this one, the first Harpy that you see in the game, Fury here. As far as I'm aware, only available on the first floor where the toads are, so the rest you can find all over the place. Then we're into the subterranean lake now. All of these enemies, by the way, the Merman and the Sea Devil and this guy, the Ruinous Wave, they all have a chance to drop Bacchus's Cider, so if you need them, this is probably the best place to go get one. So, Molten Cave now. There's the Adamantoise. Again, still think that's a really large monster to be sticking right at the beginning of the thing, but maybe it's just because the land turtle was so large in this game, so. Now we're into Castle Hein's enemies. I think we saw all of these on screen, though, so I won't spend too much time. Still don't know where that horse's head went. Don't know if I want to know. These enemies are on the outside, the outer sea of the Floating Continent. Although they're also available on the sea anywhere on the regular world map as well, so like all of these ones specifically. These enemies were in the Cave of Tides, which we could have gone back to as well if we missed something. The Cave of Tides was like northeast of Amur if we missed any of these. So we could have gone back for like the Ropers that you can steal some... I think you can steal the same things as what you can steal from Black Flans from Ropers, so like Heavenly Rats, Arctic Wind, Bombshells, or Bomb Arms rather, all available there. So these enemies are inside of the Amur sewers. Did that Gigantoad have really long fingernails, or is that just me? No, it has really long fingernails, unless that's just its back legs, which still look like they have long fingernails. Anyway. I don't think Stropers have the same drop table, though, as Ropers do. But I could be wrong about that. So these are the enemies on the world map around Amur. There's the Vulcan, which is the palace swap of salamander, which I think we saw on screen. I'm not 100% sure, though. These enemies are all inside of Goldor's Manor. Of course, they're all made of gold, or have gold equipment. I wonder if all of these enemies were made by the false Earth Crystal. Because it's like the not correct one, like the false one that Doga made for Goldor. Starting from the Helgaru Mage here, this is stuff that's around the Saronia continent. So you can even find these around Repleto if you wanted to. And now we're on to the ones that are available on the Dalg continent. You can find almost all of these. Matter of fact, I think you can find all of these on the airship. It's just the frost flies are only available on the airship, but everything else you can find just walking around. Now we're into the Cave of the Circle. Some palette swaps here and there. These are the underwater enemies. This one's not underwater, though. I'm not sure why the Sea Dragon is listed here, but this is the one that you have to find while you still have the Enterprise before you go to Saronia, while on the sea on the actual world map. If you don't find it before you go to Saronia, while sailing on the ocean, you won't be able to find it because you can't sail on the oceans, like the surface of the ocean, ever again after you go to Saronia. So. But these ones are back underwater. These are in the sunken cave. Quite a lot of enemies in the sunken cave, actually. These are in Saronia catacombs. These are in the Temple of Time. He's so much smaller than the King Behemoth, it seems like. The regular Behemoth. These ones are in the Ancient Ruins. I don't think there's too many here. But yeah, as you can see, their weakness is Dark Blade. So like if you're using something like the Katetsu, the Yashura, the Kikuichi Manji, that sort of stuff, they actually have a weakness to that type of damage. So from that type of weapon. It can help if you don't have like really powerful physical attacks, but we did, so we didn't have to worry about it. These ones are available in Lake Dor. These are all available in Bahamut's Lair. Let's see. These are all available. I think the Zombie Dragon was also in the Ancient Ruins, so I'm not sure why it's over here, but these ones are available in the Cave of Shadows. You might be able to find the Zombie Dragon there, too. I'm not 100% sure, actually. It would make sense, because it's, like, after the other stuff from Lake Dor, but... let's see. These are all in Doga's Grotto. Feels weird to have the like regular ogre be the most powerful ogre out of all of them, but I don't know. These ones are available around the Crystal Tower, so like in the forests or the plains near the Crystal Tower itself, you'll find these 4 enemies, except for Aeon, who you can also find in Sid's basement as part of his little side quest. This is the enemy group in the Ancient's Maze. Just waiting for the King Behemoth to come on and basically take up the whole screen. Not yet, almost. There he is. Yeah, he looks so much bigger, which I guess makes sense, right? So, here's the enemies in Eureka. I think we saw all of these. Not 100% sure. We at least saw Acheron and Oceanus before we left. Here's the enemies that were in the Crystal Tower. Gotta love looking at someone's beating heart. Yeah, so there's the Muckmucks spelled backwards. 8,800 experience per, basically if you had one person alive at the end of the battle. So if you have 4 people alive, it splits that by 4, so 2,200 experience per person. Not too bad to take on. Just have a strong physical attack. They've got weak defense and you'll be fine. But, I mean, if you've been looking at the defense stat that you've seen across the screen here, you'll see that, I mean, even as the enemies in the final dungeons areas, like 30 defense, that's not a lot. You know what I mean? So these enemies are available, well, those 2 before that are available in the World of Darkness. This one's back in the Crystal Tower, so. Yeah, so the dragons, as you'll see, they'll have a little more defense, a little more. Even the red dragon has 50 defense, so. But most enemies, they're hovering at right around 30, 40 defense, which is not a ton. As I said, it's kind of rare for them to go much higher than that, whereas I would not be shocked if the Iron Giant has significantly more defense, so. We're back to enemies that were in the World of Darkness. Here's the Twin Dragon. He's literally just a smaller palette swap of the 2-headed dragon. Now we're on to bosses, so here we go. Let's see how far we've come, see all the bosses we've beaten. I guess the Djinn was weak to water. Now, the Nepto Dragon gets automatically added to your bestiary, even if you don't go and fight him. So, you could have taken the ship out to sea to try to fight him, but you'll get a game over if you do that. And you don't need to do that in order for you to get him in the bestiary. If you fix his eye problem in the Nepto Temple, he gets automatically added to your bestiary. You can't beat him, though, as far as I'm aware, so... Giant Rat had a surprisingly high defense stat. Higher than Guts go. Higher than Salamander, that's nuts. I mean, you probably aren't using physical attacks on a Giant Rat anyway, considering you have to be mini, but, you know. It's kind of interesting they have Odin, Leviathan, and Bahamut back to back to back like that, because I feel like that's probably, you're not able to even do that order normally, but I guess, you know, obviously we've got Doga, and I think they had Hecaton Kier a little further up, so you wouldn't, you would fight that guy kind of in between Odin and then Leviathan, Bahamut, so. Here's the ninja we fought for the ribbon. So these are all the Eureka bosses that we fought for the extra gear. Yeah, see, now they're starting to get a little more defense. They're up, you know, 48-ish. But, like, it's not much, you know what I mean? It's not, like, significantly higher than the 30, 35 that some of the enemies had. It's 46. So, there's the final boss, so she has 55. I don't think the tentacles are shown here. No, they're not. Okay, and so this is the problem right here. So this is why the Iron Giant is so much more difficult. First of all, he's level 81, so that's the expected level that they expect you to fight him at, is 81. He has 199,999 HP, 255 attack, which you can get yourself, but you'd have to have 2 weapons equipped. He has that with 1 weapon equipped. And he has 155 defense. So he has effectively 3 times the defense of the final boss. A little less than that, but like 3 times the defense of the final boss. So if you were wondering why we were doing so little damage to him, that's why. Is because his stats are just so stacked, so ridiculous, that he just can, basically, he has defense through the roof. Alright, but that was all I wanted to show. I've shown everything that I wanted to show other than the gallery, so now in order to show the gallery I have to save and reset the game, so let me just rest here so we can top off on everything, because I think we're a little bit off HP-wise. And then once I'm done resting, we can go look at the gallery. Like I said, I've never actually even looked at the gallery, so I don't know what's in there, but we'll look at it just because why the heck not. It should be fully unlocked now that we did everything here, unless you unlock some more of it for getting job masteries. I don't know. But I guess we'll find out, won't we? But let's save. We'll rest on our laurels. And then we'll go from there. Alright, so reset. There we go. And apparently there's an autosave function in the gallery, so I don't know what that's all about, but cool. I guess I don't have to worry about that. Sorry, you're gonna skip that intro. We already saw it at the very beginning, so because I just want to get this part done. Now, do I load my save file or no? I guess not. So. Okay, well, you can rewatch the opening movie if you want. You can listen to the BGM from the game. So I guess that's nice too, because now if you want to get that like anywhere other than in the game itself, and then you can look at the illustrations, which was really, I guess, the main thing I was looking for. So, but yeah, we've got everything here because completion rate 100% on this. There's apparently 59 tracks to listen to, and you can, I guess, listen to them rearranged or the original versions. Yeah, cool. Is there 59 in this one as well? Yeah, there is. Okay. Is the opening... Probably not the opening movie in this, right? Because that's a whole separate option. Well, there's the opening theme, but that's different, so... I can just do that. There we go. Hey, Eggy Egg, how you doing? Welcome back. Yeah, what if you get a game over in the gallery? Duh, you know, I should have thought of that myself, honestly. Guess I didn't even consider that option. You missed the super boss fight, unfortunately. We finished the Iron Giant in 2 attempts. The first attempt we wiped at around the phase transition because he got a high roll on one of his swipes. But the second time, everything went a little more smoothly. So, alright, how many illustrations do we have to get through? Oh, 100, that's fine. Alright, cool. There's even stuff all the way up to 2012 in here, so that means there's some Amano artwork and some other stuff, so... Excuse me, we can take a look. So full screen, what is that? Oh, okay, it just... pulls that off. That's okay. I'd rather have the titles there too. Oh, you were watching, just busy with housework. Okay, fair enough then. Yeah, get it, you know, in the background so you've got something to listen to while you're doing housework. So rotate is that? Oh, okay. I guess. Yeah, Zangief, 1990, pretty much, something like that. It looks like. From this angle, it almost looks like Doga's heart, like, that's probably just valves on the heart, those, like, yellowish looking things, but they almost look like a claw. It's kind of gross looking. But yeah, all this stuff is the Amano artwork, basically, from, like, when the game was coming out. That, in this case, is Une's clone, which is interesting, because I think that's actually Une's regular palette. Her clone is, like, pinkish, if I remember correctly, so... Medusa looks so goofy. I don't know why, it just, with the darker face with all the red snakes, it just looks super silly to me. So now, hang on, let me look at the princess real quick. No, it was like that in the Amano artwork. I gave Akihiko Yoshida a hard time about her outfit, but I think, quite honestly, I think that the modeling that they did in this version of the game was less, like, for the characters that were in the game before this, it was more based on the Amano artwork, because, like, that's almost one-to-one what she's wearing in the game. Same thing with, like, Doga. The reason why I think Lunith, Eric Refia, and Ingus all look different is because of the fact that those are, like, original character designs that were made by Akihiko Yoshida for this remake specifically. Originally, it was just for Onion Knights, so, like, all of these they would want to dress up in a similar way to, you know, what they looked like originally. It is interesting, though, how much young Une looks like Celeste from Final Fantasy VI. That's not something I would have considered out of Une, honestly. She also kind of looks like Arya a little bit, so. Desh just looks, in this picture, Desh just looks like Leon in a trench coat from Final Fantasy II. So. That's supposed to be his first iteration, second iteration of a chocobo, huh? That is gross looking. I wonder what that's supposed to be based on, because it's probably not based on, like, I always assumed chocobos were based on, like, ostriches, basically, but, like, that looks more like a pterodactyl grafted onto a naked chicken's body. I don't know. Here's all the summons we didn't use. We'll use them in the next one, not to worry. All of the summons that show up in this game also... Let me think about that. Yeah, all the summons in this game show up in recurring roles in other Final Fantasies, including, I think all of them show up in the next one. So... But yeah, the twin swords seem to be a pretty recurring theme here. I think they're trying to tell you something about how you should should be playing the game. Yeah, so now we're into more of the Akihiko Yoshida artwork, where he starts to give actual personality to the 4 Onion Knight warriors. So. And of course, some of them are still Amano's artwork, like this is Amano artwork, and so is this. But yeah, Akihiko Yoshida started doing... This is probably where the main part of Yoshida's work happened, is right here, so... Why are its feet going the other way? That is a good question. I don't know why its dominant toes are on the back foot for those chocobos either. Yeah, oh hey, it's the summon arts that are used in Dissidia, yeah. So they probably, a lot of them came from here, because he kind of just iterated on those concept arts for those summons as they became recurring throughout the series, so... But yeah, so you get your entire, like, and you could do full screen for this. So this is, if you look at, like, the concept art for these on, like, the Final Fantasy Wiki or something, they probably got their artwork from the gallery here. But this is what everybody looks like in all of the jobs, so... I like this one for Lunith, where he's just, like, very hastily got the White Mage outfit on over top of his Freelancer outfit. It's like, did you just roll out of bed or something, Lunith? Like, hold on, man. So yeah, there's what Angus would have looked like if I would have made him the Ranger instead. I guess it probably would have made more sense to have, like, Erica Refia do it, because they have actual pads on their knee pads there, but, I mean, I guess it wouldn't have mattered. They still would have taken massive damage anyway, so. There's our Scholars. I still haven't done enough with Geomancer to know whether it's just like... My thought process behind the Geomancer job is that it's kind of like... You use this until you get Summoner instead of Evoker, because it does basically similar things to what a Summoner would do if the Summoner was weaker, if that makes any sense. Like, it does AoE damage, to elemental AoE damage to the whole enemy party, which is what Geomancer and Summoner both have in common. It's just Geomancers are kind of random, whereas Summoners, you're picking what you want in exchange for using MP instead of it being for free, you know, so. There's our Vikings. I like how Lunith's hair displaces his Viking helmet. It's just so poofy. And actually, the Dragoons are interesting because they have this more purplish look to their armor here, but it's more blue in the game. Maybe I'm just colorblind, I don't know. So, I've been told I'm slightly green colorblind, but I don't know how true that is. There's our Evokers. I just like Refia's Bard look better than anybody else because her feather looks the most like a feather, you know what I mean, if that makes any sense. The rest of them don't look like feathers, or they look like feathers turned in a different direction, whereas hers is a feather turned out, so you can actually see the, like, the feathering on the wings, you know, so. There's the trademark cat ear hood that the White Mages will come to be known for later on in the series. I guess Eric and Refia wear it up while Lunith and Angus wear it down. And it's just funny, again, because, like, I actually like this version of Devout for Lunith a little bit better because the black matches with the black pants, like his black outfit, but it still looks like he put that on over top of the Freelancer outfit, while at the same time, it also looks like he just forgot to put on his turtleneck. So, like, apparently White Mage and Devout are just, like, lazy days for Lunith. I don't know what that's all about, but, like, by comparison, like, consider how, like, lazy he looks like he looks in this one. Although I do think it's really silly that he has, like, the :3 face going on there, basically. And then consider that versus Summoner, where he looks like this. Like, that's so dapper. It just looks so much better for him. Like, he actually gave a you-know-what. It got out of bed and was like, I'm going to look my best. But then again, I think I'm biased in this case. I've said it before, because I think Summoner is just high fashion overall for everybody. So, like how in a lot of his outfits you can still peek at the 3 obnoxious torso belts underneath. Yeah, it's like a recurring theme in certain things. Like even Black Mage's overcoat has the 3 belts on it. So that's funny. It's like it shows that they still have bits of themselves in there. You know what I mean? They're not just like carbon copies of each other. So there's Sage. We didn't really get a chance to use that too much. Here's Ninja. I really like Angus in Ninja outfits. I think it's just like the way that his hair is stylized in it, along with the little like necklace thing. It just really brings the whole outfit together for me. So I think Eric looks pretty good in it, though, too. He's the only one that doesn't have his sash tied at the side like that, which is kind of neat. It looks like he's taking it seriously, you know what I mean? And again, Lunith has his helmet completely displaced by how poofy his hair is. Here's all our Onion Knights. And then the CG of all of our characters. A little washed out in this version of the game, but that's okay. These are probably some of the concept arts for... oh no, these are the concept arts that played when they were talking about the Gulgan prophecy on the title screen there, actually. So there you go. This is what I was thinking of, the movie concept images. So these are like the environments and the concept art for where the movie, like the CGI movie that's the opening of this game, takes place. So they didn't just spawn that from CGI out of their heads. They had to be like, okay, how do we want this to look? You know what I mean? Before they did it. So some initial sketches, some initial job sketches. I'm going to guess that one that's in the top right there was the original Sage outfit, probably. Obviously, they iterated on it a little bit, but, you know, a lot of the other stuff looks like it was mostly the same. In this particular case, Eric's... oh, no, I think that's Lunith underneath there because his hair is underneath the helmet. But I was going to say, if that's Eric there instead of Lunith, he... tied his sash on the side in this one instead. But some of the jobs, it looks like they stayed pretty relatively the same. Onion Knight changed a little bit for Refia because I think they went with more blues for her than the kind of not yellow, orangish red that they've got going on there. But yeah, some of the jobs, they stayed pretty consistent with them throughout. So looks like Summoner didn't change all that much, which is good because they came up with a banger for that Summoner outfit for her. That's great. Interesting, the warrior outfit used to have like that white armor on the front of it. I feel like that would have been very striking if they did that. And I honestly, I kind of like the look of the Dragoon helmet a little bit better in the concept art than I do in the game. Like, I didn't get the impression of a roaring dragon from the game's Dragoon outfit or from the other concept art, but here it's very clear that it's supposed to be like a roaring something. I guess you could consider it either a roaring dragon or a roaring chocobo, depending on whether you look at the fangs or not. So, and this must be where they fully iterated on the Sage and were like, yeah, we're going to have them wear this big giant hat. So, yeah, this is it. So, like, you compare this, the way that the helmet is here, I don't see the roaring dragon motif there, whereas here, it's very clear. Like, there's something roaring on there, and I think that would have I would have liked that a little bit better, but that's just me personally. Can't complain too hard. The game looks gorgeous as it is, you know, so... She looked a little different in a few of her sketches than the way that they made her look. I guess they probably wanted to differentiate her a little bit from, like... I mean, I guess the pigtails differentiate her in some cases, but that middle image of her face there, here, she almost looks a little bit like... I was going to say Arya, but actually not quite. She does look like somebody, but I don't think it's Arya. Somebody else, so... Okay, and we're done. So that's the whole gallery. We've got 100% in the gallery. We've watched the opening movie 10 times at this point. The music player has all the music on it as well, but that's the gallery as well. Yeah, I was going to say the leftmost sketch of Refia looks like a tactics character, and I think that's because, if I remember correctly, Akihiko Yoshida did the concept art, and actually probably all the art for Final Fantasy Tactics, like the whole series, if I remember correctly. So I think that was where he got his start, was at Tactics, and then he continued after that. Unless he did stuff before that in the series, which is very possible. My history of the series is a little bit rusty, but the games are good, so I know that much. Alright, so we looked at the gallery, we beat the super boss, we have 100% treasure rating, we have 100% bestiary. The only thing left to do in the game is to grind for like 20 hours to get the rest of the job mastery cards, and yeah, if I want to do that, I can do that on my own. You don't need to watch me do that. So that is where I'm going to call it. That will be it for Final Fantasy III, the Stream Edition. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time with it. Excuse me. It's fun revisiting the game, but revisiting it has also reminded me of why it's kind of in the middle of the pack in terms of Final Fantasies for me, as far as like my rankings of the series go. It's fun. It's just there's certain things about it that just some enemies in the end of the game have too much HP. There's certain aspects of like the way that speed works. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Just a few things that rub me the wrong way. But there's a lot of like, the music is great. The concept art is really good. The battle system is fine. You know, it works well enough. And I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can just absolutely annihilate the difficulty, especially in this version of the game, where if you know how the mechanics work. So it's a fun time. I just don't think that it's the most fun time that I have with the series. We'll slowly build up to those as we go. So that's going to be it for, like I said, Final Fantasy III, the Stream Edition. Come back on Saturday's stream at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and we'll boot up a new game. To be quite honest with you, still don't fully know what that one is. I'm still trying to choose between about 3 of them. Actually, I think it's 4 now. But I'll have it figured out by the time we get to Saturday. So, thank you for watching, everybody. I appreciate you checking out the stream. Again, I hope you enjoyed Final Fantasy III. We had a good time here. It wasn't a long time, but we had a good time, I think. And I'll see all of you either Saturday or, well, wherever I see you next around the internet. Until then, I hope you'll take care and have a good one. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to put more medicine in my ears. The fun never stops.